This is food. This is beans.
So, Adrian, let's take a closer look at The Last of Us on HBO, Season 2, Episode 2 now.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness, what an episode. What an episode. It's quite the episode. I don't know how much we can really talk about initially until we get into spoilers later. Because it's a lot of it would potentially get into spoilers, but we can talk about it on a technical level. What'd you think of The Last of Us on HBO Season 2, Episode 2?
Yeah, I think this is a great episode. However, there was a few things about it that there's a couple things about it that I'm going to nitpick on once we dive deeper into spoilers, but there are a couple of big things about this episode that I think is weird and a bad creative decision in a lot of ways.
Okay.
Which again, we'll dive a little bit deeper into it. There were actually like actual points in this episode where I felt like the writing was kind of bad, weirdly enough.
Interesting.
Not necessarily in the dialogue, but in what occurs.
Okay.
So again, we'll dive into that a little bit. I really like, young Mazzino as the character Jesse gets a little bit more play in this episode. Amazing. He does a stellar job, impeccable. Even I loved him in this episode. Again, gets more play than the first, and I think this guy is really just fitting into that role so well. I think the performances from everyone were amazing this episode. Some emotional beats that really hit hard, honestly. But again, there was enough to, I think, hold this episode back a bit, and I'm excited to kind of dive a little bit deeper into that, and maybe you'll convince me otherwise. But yeah, what did you think about this, man?
I really liked it. It is really good. It's funny, again, we sometimes have the same notes and like almost exactly. When we talked about Sinners, you wrote somewhere where you said something about being a masterpiece, and I was like, that's exactly what I wrote about that exact same scene. And so young Mazzino is the example here. I feel like he's just killing it, and the chemistry between young Mazzino and Bella Ramsey's Ellie, I think, is really great and very cool. And like the beginning of the episode, etc., they did a great job. They play off each other really well, which is awesome. I thought Gabriel Luna's character, he's just generally, Gabriel Luna's just a solid actor, and he just does a solid job throughout. I also think that the makeup for this show, we didn't really talk about it on the episode 1, a closer look. So I just want to point that out here again. Like the monster makeup for the infected is just really, really great. And it was on display here as it's going to be, I'm sure, throughout the season constantly, but I thought it was excellent. I also think that on a plot perspective, they set up the anticipation fairly well throughout this episode. It really got me on an emotional level, which I really was impressed by. I thought it was cool because I know what's going to happen generally because I've played the video game.
Yep.
So that's pretty neat as well. And I'll just say, like, it's cool. Like the director of this is Mark Mylod, who directed The Menu and the movie we saw together in theaters with Ralph Fiennes. And I think he's a pretty solid director. It's cool. This is an interesting director because he directs a lot of like the big HBO fare, like Game of Thrones, but also shows like Succession. And I think he's directed a lot of episodes of Succession, but also The Menu, which I particularly like. The Menu. I think
me too. Yeah.
And I thought he did a really good job here too. But yeah. It's interesting. I think we should just jump into spoilers because this is one of those episodes that's tough to talk about too specifically, especially from a plot perspective. But yeah, it was good. I really did like it though. I did like it. I don't think I liked it as much as the first episode, but maybe I'm just biased. We just watched this episode like literally moments ago. Like we came off of watching this and we're jumping into it as fresh as it's ever been for us doing a review. Which is interesting because sometimes I can shape my perspective over time. And this time, I can't really do that. I have no time to do that in a weird way. I wrote some notes, but I'm like, I'm still kind of reeling from it. It's cool. I watched this with my fiance as well. And I feel like, it was fun to watch it with somebody who doesn't know the plot. I think you might have the same perspective.
No, like my fiance played the games with me. Like
right.
she knows
So
the
never
full
mind.
story.
She knows the plot.
Yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't matter.
So I didn't have that
I,
experience.
oh,
I'm curious to hear that perspective.
Did you watch the first season with your family?
A few episodes, not all of it.
Okay.
But yeah,
because they obviously didn't play it like your
correct,
parents.
but they really liked it. So again, I want to. They're not watching the season right now because they're leaving on vacation in like a couple weeks, so they won't be able to watch it when they're out. So they just want to like wait and watch it all when they come home.
Okay. Well, I really liked it. I'm assuming you liked it, but maybe didn't really like it. We'll see how it goes.
I liked it. Again, there's a couple things. Maybe we're coming off fresh, so maybe you'll change my perspective on this. But yeah, I kind of want to dive into spoilers.
Now let's move on to spoilers. So we're going to do a spoiler portion of this, a closer look episode. So spoilers are happening now, audience. So if you are afraid of spoilers for this show, because you haven't watched HBO's The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 2, please turn that dial now. Now is the time.
Yeah.
Because we're getting into it. Okay, cool. Adrian, I'll just let you start.
Yeah, okay. So there's obviously two huge things that happen, and I want to talk about what I think didn't hit as well, and it was the attack on Jackson, right? So essentially, Joel and Dina are out; they're exploring. They find Abby. All of that. We'll talk about that in a bit. And at Jackson, Ellie and Jesse, they're also gone. So we have Tommy, we have Maria, and a bunch of other cast of characters at Jackson. Right. It's really cool, that build up, that again, the anticipation. I think you were referring to what happens with Joel and crew, but also the Jackson level, because this is totally fresh. This is not in the games, so there's this level of, oh man. Not only, like, I think what Craig Mazin did here and the team did here is, like, we got to, like, the people that have played the game know what's about to happen, so we have to build this extra level of anticipation for the people that have already experienced that. Something fresh, something new to kind of focus on at the same time. And I thought the attack on Jackson was really cool. I thought, like, how it looked, like the brutality of it, the how frightening it was really great. There's, the makeup of all the infected running through the streets, murdering a bunch of people was great. But for me, it kind of fell off a little bit because it felt very plot conveniency in the situation. And what I mean by that is, you have Tommy standing in the middle of a street with a flamethrower, and he's burning infected, but there are literally hundreds of infected running through. And for whatever reason, there's like no infected running at him. They're running past him, attacking other people around. There's so many. And he somehow miraculously doesn't get like overrun by this countless amount of infected. There's a bloater coming through, sees Maria. Tommy's noticing that. He's like, oh, I got to save my wife. I got to make sure. So he actually runs into this horde of infected that for whatever reason are completely ignoring him. He gets the attention of the bloater, runs away. And for whatever reason, only the bloater follows him into this area. And I was sitting there actually thinking, like, holy shit, they are going to pull the rug out from under us and kill Tommy. And it's going to be brutal.
Yeah, me too. I thought that would happen. Yeah, I had a feeling. I thought it was going to be a bad moment, potentially, because it's like, what do you do to recover that? And Gabriel Luna's been killing it, so don't do that. Because in the game, obviously, he doesn't die. He doesn't die here. So in this scene, in this moment. Yeah, so I thought he might die, which would be such an interesting plot point.
But so miraculously, he's using the flamethrower, and on the last possible second, his flamethrower's out, no ammunition. For whatever reason, only the bloater followed him, dies just before he gets attacked by it.
Mm-hmm. Like, okay.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And on the roof.
That's a problem, that moment, or?
I think so. I think it's a problem. It doesn't make sense in the grand scheme of things. There's so many infected, and there weren't other infected. Only this one bloater, this one infected following around the corner, and it it just seemed so plot convenience. It seemed like Walking Dead writing compared to what The Last of Us is in a weird way, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't agree at all. But on that.
And then on top of that, Maria's on the roof. Infected are running on the roof.
Mm-hmm.
And again, none go and attack her. They're attacking the people around her. She's shooting a few of them, but she makes it out alive. And then at the end, Tommy and Maria find each other on the streets. And somehow I guess kill all the infected, even though there was hundreds upon hundreds of them and the infected stopped attacking and they're kind of going through the streets, killing the people that have been bit. And I guess the rest of the infected died somehow. It seemed just
They
very,
killed him.
Yeah. I guess they did, but it just seemed like they were not going to win that fight the entire time. And so I literally thought like, holy shit, they're actually just going to destroy Jackson and, have Ellie and Dina and Jesse run off on this journey because they have not only do they have nowhere else to go, but now they have a revenge quest to go out on. So for me, I just felt like that situation was very plot convenience. As amazing as it was visually, and again, it had me like at the edge of my seat, I just felt like, oh, this is kind of the first time in this entire show where I'm like, the writing here just seems a little bit juvenile in comparison to the rest of what's come before, and definitely compared to the video game. It just seemed, like a missed opportunity. Again, it looked cool, it was tense, but the payoff was confusing to me. And that's the worst part of the episode for me. And that's arguably the part of the episode that I dislike and why it's dragging an otherwise amazing episode down for me. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong in that perspective. Maybe other people don't think that online. I actually didn't look online. I wanted to stay away from that for my own opinion. I just talked to my fiance. She really liked the episode. She thought it was emotional. I don't think she fully agreed with me. But again, she wants these characters to survive. So
for sure. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I don't see it like that at all. I'm very in tune to the plot hole aspects of a movie or TV show. I don't really feel like they're not, I feel like these aren't nitpicks, I sort of say. I don't know where he's attacking them in the street, and there's this element that I felt like the reason why they didn't attack him is because I thought this right away is that they sense fear, like a predator. There's this aspect of them going for the people who are scared, who are running, who are backing up. They're both, he's running in, he's shooting the bloater goes after him. Plus, I mean, you don't really need more than the bloater to go after one man, I'd imagine. And the fact that he flamethrowers him, like, I mean, he was flamethrower it. I hope it died. Jesus Christ. Yeah. The entire tank of flamethrower, that's even crazier than the game. So, like, that's not a surprise to me at all. In fact, I thought that was a great moment. I'm like, oh, he's going to die. I'm like, but can this thing just die already? Like, Jesus Christ, is not roasting from the inside like a freaking oven? And it did. It roasted, thank God. Yeah. It roasted its insides and its brain just sizzled, and then it went out, which is cool. I don't know. This just doesn't, that to me, I don't know. That's too inside. I thought you had some other insight from the game that it didn't follow that you kind of didn't like, but because
I'm trying to make my, like, again, keep my opinion based on the show. Like, this is something that wasn't in the game at all. And again, like, I never viewed the runners or the clickers or the bloaters looking at people that, like, I never viewed it like that. I don't think that's ever even touched on in the video game, that they attack people that are scared versus people that aren't.
But again, not a video game. It's a show.
Yeah, but in the show, have they ever touched on that? Like,
they're touching on the fact that they're getting smarter, and they are smarter in this specifically in this show, in this episode specifically. Yeah. They literally turn tail and run the opposite direction of the direction they're going because of the network in the ground, which is completely not in the game at all. Yeah, which is a crazy moment that, like, they can all turn on that kind of hive mind. Is a very interesting part of the show in general that they just don't do in the game. So that part's interesting too. But it just, to me, it's not that crazy. He's walking and they're all running a different direction towards the hundreds of other human civilians that are also shooting at them. If one had run at them, they would have taken them out. To me, that's not too big of a stretch to me. It doesn't stretch the imagination too far. And they're the most capable and the least afraid out of probably everyone there. So they would have probably taken anyone out that came at them. So maybe it was one of those like cinematic heroic moments that that can't bother me enough that it would be something I'd point out, I guess. But to each their own. Yeah. But yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to throw out there?
Well, I mean, then there's the, other side of the episode. We have Abby's group. We're following Abby's group at the start.
Right.
And again, the one big thing I talked about this a little bit in from the first episode, but I didn't want to dive into it. But
Yeah.
so Abby murders Joel in this episode brutally
Crazy.
at the end. It's
Just
phenomenal.
not what I expected that they would do in the beginning, because they're stretching this out.
Mhm.
So I thought they would do this, but yeah, that's crazy. I was completely wrong, by the way. Completely eat my humble pie. I thought they were going to do flashbacks and try to do flashbacks for Abby because of the way that the first episode went of the show, actually, largely. And they did not do that. Clearly.
No.
so
yeah, they went
crazy.
into it. And yeah, like they killed
just did
Joel,
it.
and it's brutal and it's a tough scene. But
It is.
I find it interesting again is they now fully revealed not only her intentions in the first episode, because she says, I'm going to kill Joel, like the first episode. It's kind of there's this level of build up to it. And then, you know, she finds Joel. She figures out who Joel is immediately because Dina yells his name from afar, which is different from the game. And I think that was one of the major criticism from the game. A lot of people say, like, Joel would have never revealed his name. Tommy would have never said Joel's name, you know, like in front of strangers. And it's like in this one, they kind of solved that. They had Dina yell, hey, Joel, like, let's get out of here. So Abby finds that, you know, who he is. But then she's like sitting down, and then she tells him why she's killing him. She says, like, you killed my dad. And again, in the game, we don't figure that out until probably the halfway point. Because we see that Ellie is on this revenge quest to kill these people. And part of the fun and part of the mystery is, why did they do that? What was the intention? Ellie says something along the lines of, you know, like, Joel pissed off a lot of people. You know, he did stuff in the 20 years before I even met him. And yeah, I find this an interesting change. Is it, again, this I think is just a nitpick because I love the game and I'm pointing out those differences. I don't necessarily think this is worse. I just find that the impact is a little bit less. And Craig Mazin, I think in this situation are trying to make Abby a little bit more of a human character early on.
I disagree. This is actually a part I completely disagree on.
Okay, please. Yeah, I'm curious.
I found her to be completely framed as a villain here. I don't, again, as somebody who hasn't played the game since 2020, I feel like she's framed as a villain whether her dad was murdered by Joel or not. It just, she is not, even her whole party is trying to stop her almost. Like, just get it over with. Stop spending the time. Stop torturing for this period. To me, this was more agonizing in some way than I remember the game being, which is crazy because that was a really agonizing moment. But the anticipation, knowing what's coming up, knowing having had played the game, and then watching it play out, I'm like, wow, she's pushing into this villain role fairly heavily here. Like, she's the villain. I mean, I don't want to get into how the season goes, so because we know that things, you know, how things go. But I feel like she's. I don't think she's sympathetic at all. I even think saying that her father has died, I just don't even. I don't know why. I don't. It's strange. I almost dislike her more than I don't think so, because I remember the game and I definitely disliked that scene quite a bit. But I just, to me, it's done very well, and I think it does potentially humanize her in certain ways. But I don't know
because we know her intention. I feel like again, you might disagree, but like you can find a reason to murder someone, right? And the part of the fun in the game is that we didn't know what that reason was. Like, it's like, oh, there's probably a reason, but what was it? And it's quite literally like, again, her father was murdered. He's the surgeon in the Fireflies.
Sure.
And Joel killed him like point blank. So it's showing, like, it's setting up. This was a revenge quest. She hates him.
Yes.
My dad's dead. And yeah, like, it does make her the villain. I'm not disregarding that, but like, she's far more villainous, I guess, in the game because you don't really know much about her. So yeah, and I don't know. Again, I think I'm nitpicking a little bit about that. I still really liked it though. Like, I think Caitlin Dever's performance as Abby is amazing, and she really conveyed her emotions.
Yeah, no, she was incredible. The thing is, like, what are you looking for though? You want a carbon copy of the game is kind of the question, I guess. Like, you got to pull an audience, a TV audience, week to week to play this. Like in a video game, you can move right past that. We're not doing week to week. And you can kind of move through it as a character you play, and you kind of go through it. In this, you have to make some kind of sympathetic argument for these characters in some way too. You're trying to pull people along this story. I don't know. It's interesting. What do you want? Do you want it to be a carbon copy? Because I don't want it to be a carbon copy.
I like the changes, but again, at the end of the day, it's like I just don't really understand the purpose of making these changes. Other than, again, what I said, like I guess it's humanizing her a bit. It's showing her intentions, and
Which helps an audience of a TV show.
Yeah. And again, right? That's kind of the argument I'm making. It. I think for me, it loses a little bit more of that impact, that level of mystery. But again, it does make sense. You're trying to humanize this character, a character that you can assume will be humanized more down the line. Right. So
you kind of did like it. You're just kind of on the fence. Is that what I'm hearing? Or
for that second? No, again, I'm not even on the fence. I like it. I think this is really great.
I misunderstood.
I'm just pointing out.
You said
the
nitpick,
differences.
so I figured. Oh, yeah. Okay. You said the word nitpick when you described it. See, I feel like we're maybe recording this too early because our opinions aren't fully formed based on that. You're like, I'm nitpicking, but you're not. You liked it actually. So
it's still like a nitpick. I can still nitpick on things I like, right? You can still point out like little things, differences. I don't know. Maybe we have different definitions, but
yeah, I will say this episode, man, it's this ballsy swing for the fences. I don't know. I just didn't think that they were going to do this. I really didn't. I don't know why. I just thought that they would be, I don't know. They would just take their time with it a bit more throughout the season because they have their time. Thing is they can potentially do flashbacks still. Like, so they still have the opportunity to do flashbacks with certain characters. So it's not that crazy that they could just kind of follow to me, like, this is as carbon copy as I could have imagined that they would go.
With that scene in particular, yeah.
The whole episode. For me, it's like, I can't believe how much. Also, the fact that they're getting attacked is perfect because it's a good excuse for nobody to go after him. It's so good because you have they're not going to leave. There is no reason. Tommy's about to head out in this episode. He's going to go look for Joel. He backs down because he can't. Because the zombies, the infected turn tail and run towards Jackson, so they can't leave. They can't leave because it would be, first of all, suicide, but also you're never, who cares about Joel when your entire family is going to get murdered? So like, I don't know. I really like that change, I guess, but it felt like it fit pretty well in that regard.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
They followed the snowstorm aspect, the fact that Abby gets kind of stuck and then Joel saves her life. If I recall, that happened in the game as well.
Exactly. Just like that as well, which is cool.
It follows through that same path. I don't know. I found it to be very, very capably written. Like I don't know. I didn't find any flaws with the, like, I can see where you're coming from with the infected kind of not going towards Tommy, but it's like, again, that's too much of a, it's like suspension of disbelief. You got to suspend it a little bit from my perspective. But because there's lots of humans to go after. There's lots of meat to chew on, I guess. But yeah, even the golf club,
amazing.
They even did that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I honestly, I'm in emotional turmoil after that. I didn't want it to happen that way. Personally, I kind of was hoping that they would draw it out a little bit more. They literally separated Joel and Ellie, just like the games, I guess. They didn't have them make up in any way. They didn't even talk. They're completely in dire straits. They were not in good shape. And
but
it's like,
I mean, Ellie does tell Jesse, like, yeah, we talked. So like, can we assume that after
she lied?
You think she lied?
100%. That was her lying.
Maybe.
That's why that may be why she wanted to go with Joel, because she wanted to make up with him, but she never talked to him. That's the perspective I got. We got their perspective. She comes home and she's not happy and she's not talking to him.
Yeah. What I took from it is that there's a scene that takes place after that moment that we haven't seen. And that's what she's
think so? A
conveying to
flashback,
Jesse.
perhaps.
Yeah. I think we'll see a flashback to fill in a blank.
Interesting. Maybe. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. That's an interesting insight. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah. I also do like, again, in the game, it's actually Tommy that's with Joel when this happens. I like that they swapped out Dina with it. It makes, it makes it a little bit more personal for Dina now because she was there. She's seen these people together. So I do like that change, actually. I think that's a really good change that they made in this. And another big thing, I don't know if there's anything you want to point out plot-wise. Is there anything else that you want to talk about plot-wise?
It was cool to see Eugene's hideout, like to give us a perspective on Gail's husband. I thought that was cool. That was a neat aspect. And then you get to see young Mazina and Bella Ramsey play off of each other,
Mhm.
Jesse and Ellie in that in that drug den, you know.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was cool because we didn't really have much perspective on Eugene. I think Eugene's mentioned in the game.
He is,
Den,
yeah. Gale
yeah,
is never mentioned though.
Gale's not in it, but Eugene,
Yeah.
exists.
And he also in the game, he just dies in his sleep. Like he just dies. Like he doesn't die from infected, and Joel kills him, like he does in the show. So it's a different outcome of the way this guy goes out.
Assuming that he was infected, right? We're just assuming just based on what was said.
Yeah, I think just context clues.
Yeah. It seems like that would be the most obvious situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I just I didn't know why I thought it would not happen this way.
Yeah,
I'm really set on this idea though that Caitlin Dever like killed it in the role, and she's really like villainous. Like she's not. I don't sympathize with her as an audience, right? As a a member of the audience right now, I just don't. It's just the nature of the way that they shot it. She's got such conviction in the way she portrays the character in these moments that I think the staff, the Craig Mazin and team have their work cut out for them, honestly, based on what we know the game to be. So
I think,
I don't want to spoil anything with that, but
yeah, you can also make a good argument that like the best villains have a good reason for their actions. So, again, revealing this early adds to that. So again, I can see that perspective too. Really the final thing I want to mention, bringing in Ashley Johnson to sing Through the Valley, like that song playing at the end. That's Ashley Johnson is Ellie's voice actress in the game and I guess mocap person. So I'm really glad they brought that in. Brilliantly sang, brilliantly done, really added to an emotional element for people that have played the game. I really loved that.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Also, it's good stuff. Again, the brutality of the way they kill Joel is phenomenal, and just kind of being stabbed in the neck right at the end to make sure that there's no questions about it. The viewers being there,
that's for sure.
There's no questions about it. In the game, if I recall correctly, it's done. He doesn't get stabbed in the neck. She just does one final bash to his head, and it's like very brutal, and you watch it.
Right.
But yeah, I feel like they were just like, I don't know if we can actually do that right now. We're just gonna stab him in the neck. And I also like that Ellie didn't get like knocked out, and she wakes up later. She literally immediately crawls to Joel and is like crying, and again, emotional, powerful. Yeah. Before we wrap up, though, I need to know, like, what did your fiance think? Someone that no perspective of the game. Did she see this coming? How shocked?
So she saw it coming because she had it spoiled. She knew that Joel was going to die. I didn't know that until after we watched the episode. So she knew that in the game Joel passes away. What a euphemism. But he dies. So she didn't know, but she did know, but she did not know that he dies so early in the game. And she's like, this isn't what happens in the game. I'm like, it's almost precisely what happens in the game. That's what's so crazy is that they hit the nail on the head pretty well. Like I think that they just didn't pull any punches.
Hit the golf club on the head, you mean?
Yeah. I just don't think they pulled any punches at all. Like they just went for it, and they didn't. They there's like no apologies here. They're just like, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do it exactly in the timeline. I had a colleague at work say on a conference call, they're like, they were joking around about like, get your golf clubs ready about this scene coming up this week. And I literally said to them, I'm like, there's no way they're going to definitely do flashbacks the next few episodes. There's no way they're going to do this. That's why it's 7 episodes specifically. I thought that they would draw it out, but they didn't, obviously. So again, I've repeated this a few times, but I'm shocked in that regard. It was great. I thought it was pretty good. I don't even know what my score is though. I'm hurt on a perspective of like, I didn't want to see this happen so soon. So for me, it's like my score is being fluctuated between 2 numbers, but I'll throw it to you first. Maybe you have a good perspective.
It's tough for me because mine is fluctuating between 3, depending on like the second of time it is.
Yeah. My emotional state is fluctuating.
Yeah. I guess like for me, the issue is some of this is just so amazing, but again, like for me, the plot convenience aspects kind of hold it back. So I guess like another 3.5 for me, man. Like I don't know. Yeah,
interesting. Okay. Is that the lowest it would have been? You said
No, 3
fluctuating
would have been the
between 3.
lowest.
Oh, interesting.
I would have been 3, 3.5, or 4. But yeah, I think 3.5 for me.
Yeah, I think I think I'm going to give it a 4. It's a 0.5 lower than the last one. I think the reason why I think I believe this is that we just started the season and we haven't really seen much of Joel at all.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's one thing they could have done more or better. It's like they almost ran out of time in that way. They kind of that to me felt a little rushed. In terms of character development and plot development, I feel like you could have done a little bit more with Joel. But I get the idea of like him coming to the rescue in that moment, shooting the infected and saving Abby in that second. It's cool because it's a reveal. Like you don't know where this guy is, and it's like there's this idea. Like I knew right from the beginning of this episode that this is the choice they were making, that they were pretty much doing it. Because I'm like, what else could they be doing? As soon as we find out that Joel is out, I'm like, oh, he's out there in the first like 10 minutes. Oh no. That's what I thought. I'm like, because the episode starts with a flashback. And I thought, oh, I'm right. And then moments later, we find out they're already in the cabin. That literally the exact same set. But by the way, the set dressing in terms of building out the cabin, like not the cabin, I guess it's like a cottage, beautiful mansion in the woods. It's
Looks
very,
great.
very similar to the games. It's really well designed and like the production design's great. But yeah, so I think I'm going to go with a 4 just because I feel like the impact would have been more on a seasonal perspective if they had done a bit more Joel work before we jump right in. So I would have maybe preferred this episode to actually be episode 3. That's my criticism of it. I feel like you could have drawn it out a bit more and then done it because it's been 2 years since since the first season. So I don't know. You got to use that timeline perhaps. Oh, and it's been a 5-year time jump as well. That's another aspect of it. So 4.0 out of 5, which makes it, Adrian, if I'm adding correctly, if I know how to do basic accounting, 7.5 out of 10, which is kind of low. But it's a shocking episode and very emotional. But yeah. Okay, man. Whew. They did it.
They did it.
Now the major spoiler, we don't have to worry about that anymore. You know?
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
It's nice.
Yeah. Okay, buddy. Well,
right.
I appreciate you joining me again. It's nice to see your perspective. I like that you've played the games recently too, so we can get that perspective. It's fun to talk to you about this, as we've said before, but it's cool to shoot the shit about this because it's nice to see 2 different sides of the coin. But yeah, anyway,
definitely, man. Yeah.
Thanks for joining me. And thank you, audience, for joining us. Goodbye.
Yeah. Thanks. Take care. Goodbye.